Señoras y señores, lo prometido es deuda porque nos hemos mudado para Warner Brothers Studios en Burbank, California para darle una edición bien especial de Película con todo sobre Man of Steel.
Every person can be a force for good. Free to forge his own destiny.
Hoy en De Película vamos a tener entrevistas con todo el elenco de Superman y su director, pero antes de eso tenemos que ver cómo este equipo de producción transformó la mitología de Man of Steel para un nuevo público.
Chris Nolan was working with David Goyer on the story for The Dark Knight Rises. David started talking to him about this idea that he had about reimagining Superman.
Our approach was not a comic book Superman. It was just to do a more realistic Superman, a Superman that exists in the real world.
One more, just like that. Hey.
I remember I said to Zach, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you take this character and modernize him and make him cool to a modern audience. And they pitched their ideas, and we were like, wow, they figured it out.
What Chris and David did was let's let the audience participate in the experience of being Superman without breaking the things that make him Superman. They were able to sort of make him relatable, ground him, and make him feel real.
Not bad. The holy grail of the rehearsal is still out there.
Working with Zach is great. His energy is always up. As much as the hours are extremely long, Zach keeps stuff interesting. Zach is very detail-oriented. He never misses anything.
He just has a really strong idea of the story, and he has a really strong idea of character. Zach knows exactly what he's looking for, and he knows when he has it, and that gives you a certain amount of confidence.
You'll turn, then you press on.
One really interesting thing with Zach, he's probably chosen the hardest possible way by making it, for the most part, a single camera. You don't work on movies of this scale with a single camera.
Even though we're walking around and making shots, the frame is always being analyzed and refined as we go.
Boom. Come on.
He wanted to give the film this feeling that even though we're dealing with a superhero, this could be going on, or maybe it could happen tomorrow.
We tried to land Superman in America.
It was really important to ground him in a reality that we can understand.
This story is a very realistic mirror. It's a 2012-2013 world.
We wanted to have real places. We didn't want Superman to crash into a fictitious location. We wanted everything to feel as real as possible.
There are ways into the story through that contemporary world. There's a real connection for the audience to understand this is our contemporary condition.
The most minute little detail all the way to the biggest, broadest concept, all of it just paying attention. It really makes the movie deeper and more interesting on every level.
Bueno, señoras y señores, tenemos a uno de los productores que se ha tirado la maroma de reinventar Superman para la pantalla grande, and I'm talking in Spanish really fast, and I'm saying really good things about the movie because I loved it. So, but how daunting was it to sort of reimagine the mythology of Superman for a new generation, which is what I think this movie does?
You know, I think anything like this is daunting on one hand, so I think you just have to sort of step back and take a broad stroke look at it, and then step in and detail by detail, sort of attack it one piece at a time.
Okay. Now that I've obviously seen the film, I know that Zach is the greatest choice, but when he was announced, I was kind of like, what made you think that he was the right guy for this project? Because I wasn't sure in the beginning, I have to say.
You know, I'm probably Zach's biggest fan. I've been working with him for 15 plus years now, and I think he's not only a visual storyteller, but I'm a huge fan of how he develops characters and in just his approach to telling stories. And I think that this story was just right to be told in this beautiful visual way with amazing characters. And there's no one better to then take the action over the top.
So the thing, you know how, the social media turns into sort of a pile-on certain rumors. So how involved was Christopher Nolan in the project? Because, different people say they just stick your name to it because you're trying to, allude to the success of The Dark Knight. I just want, how much involved was he in this production?
Chris and Emma both have been great. Chris he worked with David Goyer to create the story, very hands-on through the entire script process, and incredibly supportive of Zach throughout the process. And it was a great collaboration between Zach and David and Chris, and pretty involved.
Okay. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, Henry is a huge leap of faith, because obviously he had done Immortals and certain stuff, but this is a huge task and a new version of Superman. How was the casting process on that, and how quickly did you guys know that you had your Superman when he stepped in?
Zach pretty early on. Henry was always on his radar, and so just like anything of this scale, you do your searches, you do all of that. But Henry was kind of the guy from the get-go for Zach, and then when we did a screen test with him, he walked out in that suit, and there was no arguing that he embodied the character, and it was a done deal.
All right, so let's geek out a little bit together, because I can't fake it. What's your favorite sequence in Man of Steel, without spoiling it for the audience? What got you back to when you were a kid and you loved movies? Because I think that's what the movie does.
Yeah, I think there's a scene in the trailer that for me it's in the basement of the barn, and Kevin and young Clark are having a conversation, and Kevin starts to tell him a little bit about who he suspects he is, and there's just something so amazing about that moment. The sky's the limit at that point, and I'm just a huge fan of that scene.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is, for the next one, I know that the Daily Planet is going to need a film critic, so we're going to work that out after we're done with the interview. So pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have so many questions. Where do I come from?
You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark. Whoever that man is, he's going to change the world.
This is crazy. It's Superman. It's so iconographic and so massive. But I think that when we read the script and settled in, and I'm a fan, and I just was like, I got to do this because it's not going to come around again. And I think we have a chance really to make something awesome.
Very simply, the soul of Superman. Finally get to see it in live action. It really, really touches upon that and who the character is and why he is.
When you know Zach, you understand that he's going to make something special. And I thought I would just go for the ride.
It is very much a, action, adventure, fantasy movie, but at the same time, it's also really small, really intimate, and built on relationships.
I think he's an unabashed hero. There are so many other heroes that we have that are anti-heroes or they're really dark, but everything about Superman kind of represents America and all that's good about it.
It's almost 3 years, really,
it's taken to bring this to the screen, because the shooting of it and the making of it was so complicated.
The characters are so rich and dimensional. We get to see a side of Superman that we haven't really seen before, kind of his struggle. And I think it humanizes him and makes him more relatable to an audience. And I think that that's what everyone really gravitated towards.
Zach really wanted to create something new. His whole approach was like, let's pretend like nobody's ever done this before.
I would say the hardest part of playing Lois is just making sure you're playing her in a way that's fresh and exciting, but at the same time pays homage to what the fans want to see.
Nothing but pure joy. As close to a dream job as you can get.
I wasn't quite aware that people are so into it, you know. I was fascinated by it. I think part of my decision to do it was because I've got a 6-year-old and 9-year-old.
The moment I sat down with Zach and I said to him, just tell me the story, tell me the movie you're making. And he started talking, and I started hearing things in my head, because it's his movie.
I think there are many levels to it. I think mostly the fact that he is a moral compass for all of us, who's all made of good, yet he's very human. I mean, we had a lot of fun, obviously, but scenes like that, sometimes it can be complicated, because you have to care for every detail.
Superman's from Krypton, he's invulnerable, it's hard to make him human. We tried to give him emotional vulnerability.
I knew of the character, and I thought he was cool. And now, definitely more so. I really got into comic books from my source material research, and loved it.
You know, your movie, and you try and make it, the best you can. And it is fun when the premiere comes, because you do get to roll it out and let it just have a life of its own. It's pretty awesome.
No se vayan para el cine todavía, que regresamos con Amy Adams, Henry Cavill y los nuevos enemigos de Superman.